Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. We have the top free science fiction and fantasy bestsellers for you to read this weekend. That's because every Friday we here at MetaStellar, we read the first few chapters of each of the top 5 free fantasy and sci-fi books on Amazon because Amazon has a bestseller list just for free books. Link is in the description down below. And today's list has a space opera, a zombie apocalypse, and a preview of one of the most anticipated fantasy novels of the year. We have a New York Times bestselling author and a Hugo Award-winning author. So stay tuned for that. And welcome everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. Today, E.S. Foster contributed to the reviews, and Emma is here with us today. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
All right. And let's get into the reviews. We're going to start with book number 5, and we're going to count down to book number 1. And let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. There you go. So this is a sneak peek of Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. And by sneak peek, they mean the first 4 chapters of the book. It's a standalone book. It's not the first in a series. And the author is, in fact, the New York Times bestselling author that I mentioned before and a Hugo Award-winning author. And weirdly enough, it's a dark retelling of the story of Snow White. And not something you would think of as a Hugo Award-winning kind of genre. And this book made our list of the 10 most anticipated fantasy books of 2025. And I'm the one reading it, and this did not make sense to me. There's a lot of fairy tale retellings out there. They fall in the romantasy category. And there's like a million of them. Like, why would this be such a great book? And so I was also kind of annoyed that it's just the first 4 chapters. If you're going to give us a free book, give us a free book, right? So I was a little miffed going into this. But I'm like, okay, the author did win a Hugo, is a New York Times bestselling author. I'll give her benefit of the doubt. Okay, so the book opens with the protagonist having just taken poison when the king enters the room to say that he had murdered his wife. Awesome start. And you read a few paragraphs down, and we find out that the protagonist's name is Anya. She takes the poisons on a regular basis, and she has no idea why the king would come to her of all people, much less to tell her that he'd murdered his wife. And then we get some backstory. So he caught the queen cutting out their daughter's heart. He stabbed the queen with a sword. The daughter died. And the reason why he tracked down Anya to talk to her is that he heard her father say a while ago that she knows a lot about poisons. And she says, no, I know a lot about antidotes. And he's like, yeah. So the daughter's name, who's dying, is Snow. She's sick and getting worse. But this is a second daughter. And none of the doctors have been able to help. And so he suspects she might be poisoned. And so he wants somebody outside of the usual circle of court people to take a look at her because it's somebody close to her who's doing the poisoning. And Anya is a random person here, and he heard about her in passing from her dad, who's a merchant. And he heard about her a long time before all of this happened. So he's like, she's a safe, neutral person to go to. And he promises her that even if she can't help, no harm will come to her. And so she agrees to come look at his daughter, whose name, as I mentioned, is Snow. So this is supposed to be a dark retelling of Snow White. It doesn't feel that dark as I was reading this. And it did not feel like one of those overwrought romance books. I really, really liked Anya. I really liked the setting. It felt super real. And the next chapter, we go back in time to when Anya was a young girl, and we learn all about how she got into the whole poisons thing and what she went through to learn about how they worked and why she's so focused on finding an antidote to them. and we learn about her family and the people, other people in her life. And it is just fascinating. It is a fantastic read. I can see why this was such an anticipated book. I can see why the author won a Hugo, and I will definitely keep an eye out for this book when it comes out. And if it's in Kindle Unlimited or my library app, I will definitely be reading it. If I have to pay money for it, I'll see what other people have to say about how the book goes, but the odds are pretty good. All right, so now we go on to a different kind of fantasy. This is The Winter Mage by T.J. Muir, the first of 4 books in the Legacy of the Lost Mage, an epic fantasy series. The other books are $3 to $5 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want, kind of like a Netflix for books. This series is not in that. This is the second week in a row that this book has been on the list, and Emma read this for us, or read the beginning of this for us. Emma, what did you think of this book?
I think I reviewed this one either last week or the week before, but when I first started reading it, I really liked the idea of the trope of bringing magic back into the world. So I was really excited to read this one. It begins with Kadaris. She's this young woman. She's capable of practicing like the basics of magic. She could do like a few magic tricks, but in this world, all of the mages who practice magic were systematically destroyed hundreds of years ago by all of the neighboring kingdoms. And since then, there's only a few left, and they're kind of like rogue mages, and they don't operate on any one set of rules. So at the beginning of this book, Kadaris wanders through the forest, and she's just outside one of the castles. So her father happens to be ruler of this region, and that means the castle belongs to him. He's throwing a party, but Kadaris is one of his illegitimate children, like her older brother. So she goes off on her own way, and she goes to meet her brother, who lives in the woods. And her older brother is the one who's been teaching her magic, and she demonstrates a little bit of the simple spells that she can use. And her brother then informs her that she's done great at what he's taught her, but he doesn't know much else with magic. And Kadaris wants to find a mentor and someone who knows magic like a mage more than anything. So, with nothing much to do, Kadaris goes to the castle. She watches the festivities for a little bit. Then she finds some of her younger brothers who are legitimate, so that's why they're there. She spars with one of them, and at one point she creates this ice spell that sort of freezes her brother's feet to the ground, and it allows her to win. I thought this part was interesting because it seemed like in this world, since the mages were destroyed a while back, that it wouldn't be likely that Kadaris would practice out in the open. And it seemed like something like her brother taught her magic secretly, but I don't know for sure. So I ended up reading on. So Kadaris finds her father. He's sitting on his throne, but a mysterious man is standing next to him. Kadaris realizes that he is actually a mage. So she like runs up to him. She begs him to teach her, but her father isn't too thrilled about this. So at that point, I stopped reading, but I was really excited. I enjoyed the beginning of this one, and I found myself caught up in like Kadaris' motivation, how she really wanted to learn magic. I thought the pace was good. I also really liked how the book portrayed magic and how it was written into the world. So, like I was saying last week, I think I might stick with this series.
All right, thanks. So the next book is yet in a different direction again. It's Junkyard Pirate by Jamie McFarlane. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. Here we go, Junkyard Pirate. This is the first of 9 books in the Junkyard Pirate Space Opera series. The other books are $5 each, but they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our Free Friday list before. So I read this one because I'm a huge fan of space operas. And I also like that trope where an old person who is, getting a little creaky, gets restored to youth by some sci-fi technology. Not that I'm saying I'm old, but I can feel the creakiness coming on. So it's kind of like an appealing, fantasy, right? I sympathize with the protagonist, Albert. He's an old guy. He's living alone with his dog. Okay, I live alone with a cat, so kind of the same. Anyway, he's also a Vietnam vet and a widower. and he was fired from his high-level engineering job because he started drinking after his wife died. And now he hangs out in the junkyard he inherited. And one day there's an accident at the junkyard, and he winds up in a hospital badly hurt, pretty much near death. But while he was lying there under fallen junk, it's like old rocket parts, a little alien showed up and offered to help him out as long as Albert gave his agreement. And Albert thought he was hallucinating, but agreed anyway. And the alien basically infected his body and started saving his life. And later on, it told him of some kind of intergalactic conflict going on, and Earth was kind of a battleground for two groups of aliens. And this particular alien's a good guy, and the other aliens are doing bad stuff. And this alien wants to get off Earth to like report home, and it wants Albert to kind of get him off the planet. And the alien's going to help him figure out how to do that. So, very interesting premise. And I loved the pacing of the story. I loved Albert's character. And I got a third of the way through the book before I remembered I had to stop and write the review, and came back to write this up. I like the writing style. It really caught me up. And so I love the fact that the rest of the books are in Kindle Unlimited, and it's not too heavy, and it's just a fun read. So yeah, I think I'll be sticking with it. Next on our list is Rust-Colored Rain by Otto Schafer, the first of 3 books in the Rack and Ruin, a zombie apocalypse series. The other books are $6 each, and they are both in Kindle Unlimited. It's the author's first time on our list, and Emma read this for us. Emma, what'd you think?
Thought it was interesting going in because I don't usually read zombie apocalypse books. And I don't usually watch like zombie apocalypse movies and TV shows. But then this one, when I read the description, it kind of sounded like it had some sci-fi elements to it. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. The story begins with Zoe and Oliver. Zoe is a nursing student. She spends most of her time studying, and Oliver is a garbage man who often comes home late from his roots. But they regularly have arguments because Oliver is getting home late all the time, and Zoe's suspicious that it's not really garbage roots, but that he's actually cheating on her. So they wake up early one morning after staying up late the previous night arguing. Zoe prepares for class, she leaves, she gets in her car, and she calls her friend, and her friend explains that he's probably not cheating, but she should still confront him and see like what his deal is because he's definitely keeping a big secret. So Zoe agrees to this, and she heads off to class. The story then shifts to Oliver's point of view. So he's en route with his partner Sam, and the pace kind of moves a little slow here. They're kind of going through their route. Not a whole lot's happening. Oliver tells some stories about like some temp workers who worked with him before Sam came along, like how this one guy ended up finding a pair of women's underwear in the bin, and he was like wearing them on his head, which I thought was really funny. But Oliver and his partner finally reach this one lady's house. They get her trash can, they come back, and then there's a message in the truck on the radio, and it's saying it's coming from the President of the United States. The president announces that a 10-kilometer asteroid is headed toward Earth, but there is a plan to stop the asteroid with nukes. So they're going to use like nuclear power, but it seems like because this is a zombie apocalypse story, that the nuclear aspect and like the asteroid falling is going to cause a a big a big issue like later on with in terms of people becoming undead. So I had fun reading this one. I like that it was a different approach to the zombie apocalypse because I feel like usually with this type of stuff, it's always like some virus that got out of control or, like just something random like that. But this one, it was something that I feel like in a way is almost more plausible. So I like the pacing of this one. I thought the characters were really fleshed out. So if you like zombie stories, I recommend that you check this one out.
Thanks. I hate zombie stories, so I'll make an extra point of staying away from it as far as I possibly can. All right, now before we go on to book number 1 in today's list, I want to thank a few people. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see their names. These are Patreon supporters. Everyone here at MetaStellar, including me and Emma and dozens of other volunteers, we're all volunteers. We all work for free. Nobody gets paid. All the money donated goes to pay for original fiction by actual human science fiction and fantasy authors and horror authors. And so we would not be able to exist without these guys. There's new fiction up on our website every week. And once a year, we take the best of those stories and put them into our best of the year anthologies. There's 3 anthologies out already, and we're working on the 4th one right now. We're also publishing books. We serialized Gods and Monsters last year, and it came out in print this year, and it was just selected for the Nebula Awards reading list. So we are super excited. It doesn't mean that it got a Nebula Award. Doesn't mean it was nominated. We won't find out till next spring that it was nominated. But the fact that it was on the Nebula Awards reading list so early this year, next to books by people like John Scalzi, we are super thrilled, super excited. And you can read the whole book online for free on our website. You can listen to the author herself read the book on our YouTube channel, or you can buy it at all major bookstores in both ebook and print form. I cannot explain how thrilled I am. I mean, how thrilled everybody at MetaStellar is. This is just so awesome. Also, a little plug for us. I have science fiction books up on Amazon. They are free. They are on the humorous sci-fi bestseller list. Don't download them right now. Wait a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer. I am uploading brand new, freshly re-edited versions of these books with brand new covers, as well as a print collection of those 3 books. They are like novella size, so 3 of them will make 1 print book. And I have several others in the series ready to be edited and posted. So I'm working my way through them, I swear. All right, now on to book number 1 on today's list. It is The Glorious and Epic Tale of Lady Isovar by Dave Dobson, a standalone book of epic humorous fantasy, and the author has been on our list before. I love humorous fantasy. I myself write humorous sci-fi in a fantasy setting, so totally my genre. And I first read this book in last November when it first got on our Free Friday list. And there's action and there's humor. Lady Isovar is a very self-involved kind of warrior, the warrior princess style person. She's been working on her extra heroic bellow laugh, and she uses it right in the opening page when she's holding a miscreant against the wall with her mail-covered hand around the thief's neck. She's about to kill him, not with her axe, because he's not worthy of her axe, but with the knife she normally uses to clean gristle from her teeth. Then her squire interrupts her to remind her that she has vowed to show mercy on the 4th day of each week. The thief is a little confused, starts to explain that it's the 2nd day of the week, and the squire pokes him in the side, gives him a meaningful look, and then the lady Isovar makes the thief promise to never steal goats again, and after threatening him a little bit more, lets him go. The thief is very confused, agrees with her conditions, then she kicks him out of the tavern, even as the thief is trying to explain that he's the owner of the tavern. So maybe he wasn't even a thief? And Lady Isovar is super proud of how heroic she is. She lifts her axe, she surveys the room, and then she goes striding. She loves striding. She's very good at striding. And then in the next chapter, we switch to the squire's point of view. And he's hanging back. He's paying the barmaid for all the broken tables, walls, and chairs. Then he asks if there are any actual bandits in the area, preferably far from any civilians, maybe a nice death cult. Anything to keep her occupied and away from people. And then one of the patrons tells him about an old monk tower where dark figures with claws like razors have been showing up at night. So I loved, loved, loved this beginning. This immediately became my top read that weekend. And as an update, I did stick with the book. I did finish it. I loved it. I was disappointed to be reminded that there was no sequel, but I found that the author also has a series of humorous fantasy detective books, The Inquisitor's Guild, and I picked those up as well. So if you love humorous fantasy that kind of has a nice twist on all the tropes, this is such a fun read. And the book had surprising depths as well. So let me just say, I thoroughly enjoyed it, highly recommend it, and I look forward to reading more of the books by this author. So, Emma, thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have a happy Friday the 13th with your zombie apocalypse novel. I think I'll be reading that spaceship book. So, everybody, I'm going to put a link to the RENNA'S Crossing videos up here. RENNA'S Crossing is the novel we're serializing this year. Awesome book, young adult book, magic, full of urban fantasy, really nice progressive themes, and absolutely beautiful writing. It's by Geordie Morse, and again, he's also reading the book out loud for us for the YouTube channel, and I'll post a link to the first installment where you can listen to him. So thanks everybody. Have a great Friday the 13th and a great weekend. Enjoy your free reading. Let us know in the comments if you like any of these books, or do you prefer the fantasy? Do you prefer the sci-fi, or do you like a little bit of the romance? Thanks everybody. See you next Friday. Bye-bye.